Tetsu Maruyama from ADDI to talk about the ADDI Alzheimer's Data Challenge that we'll be launching shortly.
Thanks
very much. We will be
Rebecca.
taking questions after Tetsu's talk on both data challenges. So if you have questions, please do put them in the Q&A section. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. ADDI has been partnering with Vivli for over a year now to work for enhancing interoperability and accessibility of data around Alzheimer's disease, one of the biggest challenges that faces the world really today. I want to talk a little bit about our data challenges, which is going to echo some of what you've heard from Denise, but also a different structure really. I want to start just by telling you what ADDI is. If you're here, you know who Vivli are, but I'll just take a minute or two to talk about who ADDI as a Vivli partner are. As an overview, we're a nonprofit organization. We were created in order to overcome some of the challenges that we see in sharing Alzheimer's data, and we have a mission to transform Alzheimer's disease research, accelerating progress towards new treatments and cures. Now, as a data sharing organization, we don't do the research ourselves. We don't collect the data, but our intention is to be the link between people who have data that could make a difference and researchers, wherever they might be and whatever their backgrounds might be, who can answer questions and move the Alzheimer's field forward. Well, what we recognized from the start is that sharing data is about building a community. And I've put this slide in here. It outlines a number of terms and approaches here that I think probably people on this meeting are even more familiar with than I am. So I don't really want to go into a huge amount of detail about this, but just to say there really were, when ADDI was founded by a consortium of organizations, including the CPATH Institute, including the Alzheimer's Association and their GAIN, Global Alzheimer's Association Interactive Network Sharing, Alzheimer's Research, Dementia Platforms UK, also Alzheimer's Research UK, really global organizations that wanted to make sure that more data around Alzheimer's disease was more available to more people. And there were kind of three pillars to the way that data sharing had to happen. We wanted to increase interoperability because there's a lot of great data out there already, but it can be difficult to get at it, and it can, you can have to do it piece by piece if you want to assemble a larger data set than might be available through any one organization. So interoperability of the existing platforms, we wanted to encourage more people who haven't yet shared their data to do so. And of course, we want to encourage people to make use of those data. So we focused on the interoperability of the existing platforms. We provide free data hosting for people who need it to increase data discovery and streamline the data access requests. We provide, again, free of charge private workspaces for essentially anybody who asks for it, any legitimate interest in Alzheimer's disease. And the use of those free cloud-based storage compute comes along with the ability to quality control data, to harmonize data, which clearly is a big problem everyone who wants to make use of shared data needs to overcome, analyze, save data, and collaborate. So if you have been permissioned a workspace, you can invite collaborators. It could be in your lab, it could be in your institution, it could be anywhere in the world, in order to work together, again, building community here. We recognize the community needs a place to meet, and so we've recently launched AD Connect, which consists of community forum, knowledge sharing, which could be about technical resources, about understanding the best ways to make use of ADDI's offerings, and also to help facilitate data challenges, which is what I want to talk about a little bit now. Before talking about the challenges that we've done and the challenges that we're going to do, just to go back a little bit to some of the discussions that have been running through the panels and presentations today, which is, making data available for sharing has been challenging, but that challenge is starting to yield, I think, and more data are becoming available. More and more organizations and individuals recognize the value of sharing the data. But what we haven't really seen yet is the uptake of those data, people making use of data that's available for sharing. And of course, sharing data in and of itself is very nice, but it's not what we do it for. We do it so that people can use those data in order to make breakthroughs that they couldn't have done without looking at human data, without looking at high quality data, without bringing data sets together, without novel analysis tools. And I think that what we've discovered in a couple of years is that, like anything else, the decision to share data or the decision to make use of the shared data represents a cost-benefit calculation on the part of people who want to do it. If it's really difficult to make use of the data, if the permissioning process is hard, if you have to go to 18 different places, if you have to do all the data harmonization yourself, well, you might do that if you thought there was a really good reason for doing it. If investing the time and effort into doing that was going to get you the kind of rewards that you expected for putting that time in, which may mean publication, it may mean visibility, it may, if you're working in industry, it may be about convincing decision makers to progress your project because you now have better scientific justification. Whatever it is, we feel it's important at this stage in our encouraging of data sharing to create exemplars, to show people that if you make use of shared data, there are discoveries to be made, and those discoveries will be embraced by the community and move the field forward. And data science challenges are not the only way that you can do that, but they are one appropriate way to do so. ADDI has run 2 data science challenges in the past. In our first year, we ran originally titled ADDI Alzheimer's Detection Challenge. And really the key goal of that particular challenge was to make people aware of ADDI. It was started several months after we had officially launched in November of 2020. We had a data set related to the well-known clock drawing test, which is a test of cognitive function highly associated with development of Alzheimer's disease. We opened it up to everybody in the world. We had tens of thousands of participants in this, we considered it a success in that we brought people in from all over the world to take part in this challenge. Largely, we think for the cash prizes, the PlayStations, the drones, etc., that we gave away with it. This year, we did a different kind of data science challenge. We ran a hackathon in collaboration with a number of our partners, but principally with Roche Diagnostics. And a big reason for running this challenge was to bring people's attention to a new tool that we've added to ADDI through Roche, which is the Neuro Toolkit. And this is a package that includes tools for data harmonization, data analysis, data display, and largely around biomarker data, which was the principal interest of Roche. Here we use the EPAD, the European Prevention of Alzheimer's Disease data set, which is available on the AD Workbench, ADDI's data sharing tool, and invited participants to form teams which would represent some of the skills we thought would be required to address the challenge. Oh dear. Somebody says the slides don't seem to be changing. They are on my screen. So the slide that I'm talking through has a picture of the AD detection challenge and the Neuro Toolkit. I do apologize if you can't see them. I'm not sure why, but I'll try to talk through without the slides if that has to happen. And I'm going to actually get to the punchline here quickly anyway. So we ran the Neuro Toolkit Data Hackathon. This summer, we wanted the announcement of the winners and the presentation of videos by the winners to happen at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference that was held last July. And again, we were pleased with the response. We had over 40 teams that participated in this, that worked on a challenge where we'd ask them to use the EPAD data set to address some of the key diagnostic criteria for Alzheimer's disease. And at least one of the teams came up with a unique finding that is currently being prepared for publication. So this was considered a good result, but not fully the result that we wanted, which is to really engage a broader community in identifying novel problems that are at the core of what we need to discover about Alzheimer's disease. So in introducing the Vivli ADDI challenge, sorry, I'll get that right, the Vivli ADDI challenge that, as Rebecca said, is in planning stages right now, and we hope to launch early next year. I wanted to just draw a comparison between the previous challenges and this one to kind of highlight what we've learned about it and what we think is going to be required for these challenges to really make a difference. Thank you for that. Glad to know my simple slides can be seen. So in the previous challenges, for instance, in the case of the ADDI Data Science Challenge, we opened this to just anyone because the idea was to bring new ideas and new people to the AD workbench and to understand the opportunities that are involved there. Or for the NTK hackathon, it was, teams with these minimum required capabilities, a statistician, a data scientist, a neuroscientist, but other than that, completely unrestricted. For the Vivli ADDI challenge, it's going to be more like an RFP, and we're going to ask for applications to bring novel ideas and employ a panel of expert judges that are going to take a very wide initial range. Anyone is invited to submit an application, but then focus on those that an expert panel believe are the most likely to be addressing key questions that existing data sets can answer. In the previous challenge, we limited participants to a narrow scientific question. In the first challenge, it was, can you come up with an algorithm that will predict Alzheimer's disease diagnosis on the basis of clock drawing, which we kind of knew already anyway, but it was useful to see how the data could be used. Here, we're going to ask applicants to give their own topics, to suggest their own topics, although we are also going to give a list of suggested topics that have been brought to us by experts in the field who are working with us. Data sets were available only on ADDI's AD Workbench. Actually, the first challenge was run off publicly available data. The NTK challenge, as I mentioned, was run with the EPAD data set. Here we want to work with data sets that are available on the workbench, but also obviously are Vivli contributors. And we like to make that as broad as possible. One of the key features was that contestants had a limited period of time. We thought it would be great to do a hackathon, and so we gave teams 2 weeks to do this. And in retrospect, that was not really the best idea because the problems in Alzheimer's disease are complex, the data are complex, and we want people to really have the time to dig into it. So we're going to give participants a longer time, perhaps up to a year, to ensure that they can thoroughly address important questions relevant to AD. The real opportunity here is for us to say, rather than broadly inviting the community to participate as we've done before, we continue to do that, but we want this challenge to be able to focus on people who are going to make a considerable part of their work reusing these data to understand big questions in Alzheimer's disease. So I think I'm going to stop there because this may be a better topic for discussion than for me to ramble on about the size of these challenges. Please do, if you haven't, visit us at the ADDI at our website or the AD Workbench. Thank you, Kim, for providing the links there. and happy to take questions or comments here. And Rebecca, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. You would think I would have mastered the Zoom by now. First of all, do you have any questions for each other?